We have reached the season finale, and UCF has to take on BYU. Can the Knights topple the Cougars?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into the Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. Turn us on, turn us up, we'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, James Duncan, UCF sports commentator extraordinaire. Talk a little UCF football here with you guys to start the week. James, BYU, we've gotten to the season finale. On today's show, we're going to talk about that BYU passing attack and what the Knights are up against. And then in the second segment, we want to talk about the guy at the head of that BYU passing attack, Bachmeier, Bear Bachmeier. Is he the real deal? Well, some people think so. And then the defense, the last stand for this UCF defense, they have performed admirably all year. We need one more dynamic performance out of them to close the season and maybe get UCF to a bowl game. But let's start at the top. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time, our title sponsor, guys. Use Game Time to buy your tickets to your games today. I mean, I'm talking about deals as low as $25 on all your favorite football games. Again, we appreciate Game Time for being the title sponsor of this segment. The BYU passing attack. Now, you remember our buddy Jake Retzlaff, right? Yeah, trouble, but he ended up at Tulane. And he's doing all right down there. But a lot of folks felt like this team might take a step back from that standpoint. Bear Bachmeier has stepped in. And again, we're going to talk about him in our second segment. But I want to talk about the passing game overall and those receivers out there for BYU. Look, BYU is firmly in the playoff hunt right now as we speak. This game means a ton to them, and I got to believe that they're going to pull out all the stops to make sure that this thing does not become a game in any kind of way. Now, before we started recording, the spread currently sits at 17.5. It opened at 18.5 and closed down by a point. That doesn't spell much hope for the Knights, and I think that they expect that this passing game might be a little bit too much for Scott Frost and his defense.
Yeah, for sure. BYU is actually just an unbelievably balanced team. As much as their passing game is phenomenal, their running game is also phenomenal. We'll talk a little bit more about Bear in the next segment. But guys, 187 completions on 297 attempts. That is a 63% completion rating with an average of 7.8 yards a completion. He has thrown 13 touchdowns for 13 touchdowns for 4 interceptions this year, as opposed to Tayven Jackson, who's thrown 8 and 8. Guys, this quarterback is just phenomenal. And their passing attack is led by an unbelievably athletic Parker Kingston and Chase Roberts, who have both had around 50 receptions this year for around 700 yards each, both with 4 and 5 touchdowns respectively. These guys are phenomenal athletes in general. You can catch Parker Kingston running kicks back and on jet sweeps. They have a bunch of really, really high-level athletes on this team that create a lot of space. There's a lot of downfield passing, but also you'll see occasionally a drag route that might go for 60 yards because a guy's got breakaway speed. You definitely need to shut down this passing attack as much as possible. And the only way that you're going to get there is if guys like Braden Marshall, guys like Antoine Jackson, and guys like Jaden Bellamy, Phillip Dunham have big days for the Knights.
Yeah, 2 700-yard receivers is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And so they're spreading the ball around up there. And I think that this secondary, we saw Braden Marshall come up with the big pick at the end of the game. I don't know if you missed it, but the announcer, and on the replay, you were at the game, but the announcer goes, "Pick 6." And then he was like, "Hey," but he stepped out.
He stepped out way before the end zone, too. Like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah. But hopefully he can come up with a pick six in this one and take advantage of a quarterback who, quite frankly, has not made a lot of mistakes. Now, he has been sacked 10 times this season. UCF could maybe get to him a little bit more. You love to add 3 or 4 sacks to that sack total on Saturday. If you stand a chance on this one, you're going to have to make him uncomfortable. Can't let him sit back there and just do what he wants here. And you've got the pass rushers to do that. So, we've seen guys like Nigel and Malachi on that questionable, doubtful list at times this year. When the injury report comes out this Wednesday, I got to hope that there are very few defensive players on that, especially along the edge, because if you're UCF, the war of attrition is kind of taking its toll on you here late in the season, I think, with injuries.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's interesting. I haven't seen him on the injury report, but Rodney Laura hasn't really had his name called recently. I don't know if that's because he's not been in the football game, or if he's facing a minor injury and just isn't on the report, or if he's, talked to coaching staff and said, hey, we're not gonna, continue to play the rest of the season. Derek LeBlanc, another inside guy that you were hoping, that was starting to emerge as kind of a big player on your defense, goes out last game, gets out of pads, not good. This defensive line has just faced brutal injuries this year. I would expect to see Derek on the injury report. I would expect to see guys like Nigel and Malachi playing next week, even though they are battling injury. Isaiah Nixon is another big player for you that has really had a solid year, as well as Jamal Johnson. It is amazing the talent that UCF has on the defensive line, even 2-3 steps down the depth chart. And I'm glad that those guys have gotten some playing time this year, because it only helps with development. But you have to get after this quarterback to stop this passing attack. If Bear's got a clean pocket, he's going to fry you.
Yeah. Speaking of getting after the quarterback, as we mentioned, Bear Bachmeier is the guy. Is he the real deal? And what can UCF do to stop him? We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCF. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. The best part, I couldn't believe how fast everything shipped just in time for the holidays. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know just how much a few new touches can make to a space. Wayfair makes that so easy. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's wayfair.com. Sale ends December 7th. Love me some Wayfair, by the way. I am in a Wayfair office chair right now that the wifey got me just for podcasting. Heat and massage.
Oof, jealous, Mike.
So head on over to Wayfair and get your heated and massage chair for your man, ladies, this Christmas. I promise he'll take care of you. Look, let's jump back in our conversation. Bear Bachmeier. Still tripping that his parents named him Bear. Tripping even more that they named his brother Tiger, who is also on the team. Bear and Tiger Bachmeier. Look, Bear is going to be just that, I think, for UCF. I think he's going to be a lot to handle in this one. As I mentioned, he's been sacked 10 times, 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 63% completion percentage. Not world breaking, but I mean, he gets it done. He's got it done for you all year. And that ESPN matchup predictor that has been so accurate on UCF games so far this year, giving BYU a 93.6% chance to win this game. I have to believe that a lot of that is rooted in the fact that Bear Bachmeier is the guy. He's not going to beat you. He's not going to beat himself, I should say.
Yeah.
He'll beat UCF, but he's not going to beat himself. And if you're UCF, you have to change that equation here. You got, like we said in the last segment, you got to make him uncomfortable. And quite frankly, you're going to have to force him into doing things he hasn't really done all year,
which is throw picks. He's got 4 on the entire year, as opposed to having 14 or 13 touchdowns. He has not really coughed the ball up too much. And also, guys, this guy is a lethal runner. If you haven't watched BYU football this year, he wears the number 47, correct? 47 or 37, one of those two. Mike, correct me when you get that info. But he wears the number of a linebacker. And the reason that he does this, and I found this out and I did a little bit of research. He used to play linebacker
47.
in high school. 47? Okay.
Yeah.
He used to play linebacker in high school and has occasionally, he grew up playing a position where you needed that animalistic drive. Keyword bear or tiger, whatever you want to call it. He's got this animalistic drive that he doesn't want to forget when he's playing the quarterback position, hence why he wears the number 47. This kid is the second leading rusher on their football team, and he averages over 4 yards a carry at quarterback. He is throwing nukes, and he is running. You can't let a guy like this get hot against you. Now, it will be cold during this game, but they will be used to that. And another guy that is used to that is Jaden Bellamy. If you are looking for any sort of defensive player that you can rely on,
okay,
try and seal off Bear Bachmeier, potentially getting a pick or a tip for an INT like he did last week. The kid from New Jersey, Jaden Bellamy, he's used to the cold, man. He said when he went out to Texas Tech, he said it was hot. He said it was harder to play in Texas Tech than it was to play in these cold areas. You got to get a guy that's used to it. I think there's no other way that UCF wins this football game unless they figure out a way to get a 5th and potentially even 6th pick on Bear Bachmeier.
Wow. So they need to get 2 picks in this game. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
you need to capitalize.
Yeah,
If you're going to get one, you got to capitalize.
Yeah, I think I think the message here is they just need to get turnovers, right? Like, if it's picks or fumbles, who cares, right? Like, make him cough it up, or make him throw a pick, make him do anything that helps you. And so this defense, again, we're going to talk about them in the next segment, but it really is going to be about getting this guy really, really uncomfortable. He is I think Bear's a freshman.
Yeah.
6'2", 220 pounds. I mean, he's a big kid. And he's, as you mentioned, averaging like 5.1 yards per carry, I think, on the ground for you as your second leading rusher. He is your offense. He's your offense. So I think that UCF has a small chance in this game. However,
I do as well.
There's a small chance, but it's going to be, you're going to need the type of defensive performance we saw versus Cincinnati, where, hold them to 20, under 24, maybe you got a shot in this one. You're not going to win a shootout. Your offense has not been consistent enough to go throw for throw with Bear Bachmeier. And I like some of the strides that we've seen Tayven Jackson make so far this season. He has not progressed nearly far enough for me to believe that he can throw UCF into a win in this one. This isn't the game. Now, last week we talked about the importance of winning Oklahoma State. And James, if you're UCF, I keep saying this, you have no embarrassing losses on your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have some ones that you wish you could have had
won.
again. Yeah. And I think that if most UCF fans, and I think this is a shame that it is this way. And I find myself being this way a little bit as well, just looking at the season as a whole. But last year, your football team won 4 games, and by the last game of the season, they weren't playing for anything but for RJ Harvey to get a record, for UCF, and he did. And he was back. He was at the game this week, and everybody loved it. And it really brought the crowd back alive against Oklahoma State. But you weren't playing for anything at this time last year. Scott Frost, with 70 new transfers on this football team, cycling through 4 different quarterbacks at times, even having walk-on Brock Hansel take a couple snaps, and preparing a non-quarterback to play the quarterback position because of how many injuries there were, it makes you think coaching definitely gave you some wins this year. It definitely gave you some wins this year.
Okay.
You're playing for something this time around. Now, you're not looking at this game as something that you feel like you even have, a 20%, maybe even 30% chance to win, but you're hoping that somehow you get it done. But the difference is that this team had opportunities last year this year that you felt like you could actually succeed. Wherein, when we had our previous coach, Mr. Myles, on, it felt like those games were games that you lost because of Gus.
Yeah.
This year provides you a little bit of hope. You won 1 more game than you did last year already, and you had the opportunity to win about 2 more, with Kansas and with Houston.
It's a big 2.
Yeah. And there were a couple other games like that, if a bunch of stuff, had flipped around, or if guys had gotten subbed in earlier, like, you could have made a difference. But I think that looking at those 2 wins and isolating them, or losses, if you go and you isolate them, Kansas and Houston, and you go, if we could have won one of those, we could have gone to a bowl game in year 1 with Frost. It gives you this automatic negative outlook at the season. And I think for UCF fans, that's poison. I think you need to look at this year for what it is. And that is, there were 70 new transfers. Tons of your big guys got injured during the season. You lost 4 people on the defensive line all at one point, and you're still playing for a bowl game in your final week.
Yeah, that's right. You kept hope alive. You kept hope alive until the last game of the season. And look, if you're going to continue to keep hope alive into the postseason, this defense is really going to have to step up. James, I don't see any way around it. They have been kind of the thing that's propped you up all year. Can they prop you up one more time? We'll talk about that next, right here on Locked On UCF. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, fans in the stands. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets to the game can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why we use Game Time here at Locked On UCF, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up the Game Time app, and what did I see? The best college football games at the best prices. I'm talking prices as low as $25. They even have a great new feature called Zone Deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save crazy big on the prices. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets today with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Last stand for the defense. The defense is going to have to show up in this one. As we mentioned earlier, they're going to have to get turnovers. They're going to have to be disruptive. They are going to have to play their best game of the season if UCF is going to find the postseason. Now, in rare instances, 5-win teams can make bowl games depending on conference affiliation and, how things fall ahead of them. But if you're UCF, you don't want to get caught in all that. Just win this game and get to a clean 6. And boy, would this win send a message to the rest of the Big 12 that says, wait till I get my guys. Wait till I load up in recruiting. Wait until you see what we do with Rocco Marriott. So Alex Grinch he took a lot of heat coming into this job. His unit has performed admirably. They went out and they got some great guys on defense, and they have played admirably all season. In light of an offense that couldn't stay on the field at times, it kind of left them hanging out to dry here. What do you think we see from UCF's defense here in the last game of the season versus a formidable BYU team?
Yeah, well, this BYU team isn't too keen on giving up the ball. Very, very few turnovers on the season. But this UCF defense in 11 games has gotten 9 picks and forced 7 fumbles, 5 of which they recovered. That's pretty good. That you're averaging more than a turnover a game. You need to have one of those games. And a lot of those have come from really high explosive turnover forcing games. You haven't had, a ton of consistent, we get 1 turnover here and 1 turnover the next game and 1 turn. It's been a lot of highs and lows for that unit in terms of forcing turnovers. I think efficiency wise, they've been really good all year. But you need turnovers here. I would say you probably need 2 to 3 plus. You need Philip Dunham to have a game like he did in the space.
Yeah, 3 picks.
Yeah,
right.
You need Bellamy to have a game. You need Braden Marshall to have a game. Damari Henderson. These guys that play DB and safety are going to be so important for you to not get beat over top. And if that ball goes to the middle of the field, it needs to get popped up and you need to catch it. It has happened against us. It has happened for us. It needs to happen for us and not against us this week. I feel bad for Tayven because I think that he's gotten a lot of flack this year. There have been games where it feels like he has no time. There have been games where it feels like he has all the time in the world, but nobody's open. I think this is one of those games where you're going to watch your offense have to be boom or bust. You need an 86-yard run from Jaden or from Myles. You need a big game out of Dylan Wade or a jet sweep for DT that goes 70 yards. You need to be explosive here because your offense hasn't really found a way to stack up consistent plays throughout a drive without making a costly mistake. The defense needs to be off the field as much as possible because there is not a ton of them in that room left that are healthy. And the more you have those guys out there, especially maybe potentially slipping and sliding in some sleet or snow, the higher it is, the higher chance there is for you to make a mistake or somebody gets hurt. You really, really need your guys that have had good seasons to continue the way that they've been producing. Did you know that Malachi Lawrence has 7 sacks on the season, Mike? 7 sacks on the season. The next highest ranking in sacks is 3, and that is Nigel E. Kelly, I believe, who's also had a phenomenal season. But Malachi has been able to finish sacks on the quarterback and force plays to be had. You need desperately to put Bear Bachmeier in a situation where he panics, where he makes a true freshman mistake, because he hasn't made a lot of true freshman mistakes this year. But you need him to have one against UCF this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. Look, you need playmakers. You need your playmakers on defense to step up and make the plays that need to be made for UCF to win this game. Now, again, that sounds like a super basic statement, but it really is that simple for UCF. Yeah. This is the last games. You need your best effort. And if you're Scott Frost, whatever your best locker room speech is, I hope you saved it for this one because those guys need to find something within themselves, maybe that they themselves didn't know that was there coming out of this one. And how awesome would it be for us to see UCF football social media put up the locker room speech of a guy who just went in and took down a team that all they had to do was win and they were in the college football playoff. We're here to mess that up. We're here to take that away from you. We're the UCF Knights defense, and we're here to take things. Period. Put it on a t-shirt. We're here to take things.
It needs to happen.
Yeah, take their spirit, man. Take all what little hope that they have that they're going to make the little playoffs and say, nope, sorry, you thought this little 5-win football team was going to come in and lay down so you can make the playoffs? No way, not in the Big 12.
And I do want to point something out that happened last week, Mike. I do believe that Bear and potentially someone else played that game injured. I believe that Bear suffered a small injury in that game towards the end and was kind of hobbling around, and he continued to have a good game, like a solid game. But I do believe that he faced some sort. Yeah, Bachmeier and Martin both with big plays after they had injuries late in the Cincinnati game. So that's their starting running back and their starting QB. I don't think these guys are coming in 100% healthy either, Mike.
Well, hey, look, this is the last game of the season, so look, I don't care how they win. I don't care what advantage exists for UCF that they didn't know they was there, that they can exploit it. That's it. The bottom line is you need your best effort from your players at the end of the season, and that would be true whether this was a good season or not. Right? At the end of the year is when you want your team to be playing best. And that's what I'm looking for here. Can he get these guys to come out and play with a sense of pride that we don't care if you're on your field. We're not going to get blown out or run off the field. And if you're going to get this win, you're going to feel it after, man. You're going to hit that ice chest after. You're going to hit that ice bath after. And you're going to like, oh, God, man, those guys did not want to lose that game. They need to remember this night. So, can Scott Frost get the UCF Knights to play with some pride here at the end? Can they stop the BYU passing attack? Is Bachmeier the real deal? Hit the comments after the video. Let us know what you think about all of that. James Duncan, UCF sports commentator, I want to thank you for joining me on today's show to talk a little UCF football. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with a Locked On crossover. My guy Jake Hatch is joining the show to talk about this thing from the BYU side. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On UCF.